morning to you all, wherever that you may have joined us for. This is yet another interesting edition of your favorite interactive podcast session coming to you from the stables of the Global Center for Leadership and Human Development. We are reaching you here all the way from Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. My name is Bolaji Oladure, and it is my pleasure to bid you a very warm welcome on this yet another interesting edition of the interactive podcast session. Remember that here, what we do is to create that real-time engagement with leadership experts, leaders of thoughts, captains of industries, in our bid to ensure that we create maximum impact across our demographies. We afford you the opportunity for personal development and, of course, capacity development as well. That is what we do here. Some few months ago, we were on this particular session with Dr. Lukman Rahimi, all the way from Brunei in Asia, who joined us on the session to talk about medical entrepreneurship. And interestingly, the one who is going to be facilitating today's edition of the podcast was also on that particular session to make a contribution in the wake of the submission by that facilitator, Dr. Lukman Rahimi. So it promises to be very, very interesting. And then that is what we do here. So I want to appeal to you to reach out to your friends, your folks who are not on the call now, to also take this time out to also join up with us on this session so that we can all have a great deal of interesting time out, very, very informative time out on this particular call. And today, like I did mention, we have yet another very interesting topic on the front burner today. Today, we are going to be looking at Halal Certification. Halal Certification is what we are going to be focusing on today. And then the one to take us through that for the most part of this session is no other than our dear Professor Ibrahim Moraga, who's already on the call. Prof, it's good to have you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the invitation.
Alaikum salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For your information, Professor Ibrahim Moraga and clinical pharmacologist with a master's and doctorate degree in pharmacology. He also has a postgraduate certificate in pharmacoepidemiology and pharmacovigilance from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine from the United Kingdom. He is currently with the Department of Pharmacology, Therapeutic and Toxicology, College of Medicine, University of Lagos, and is also on board the examination board of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists. Professor Aragba has contributed to the development of the World Health Organization and Federal Ministry of Health supported national standard treatments guideline and pharmacovigilance national policy. He is an expert resource person for the National Drug Safety Advisory Committee, Pharmacists Council of Nigeria, and the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists, and is also the chair of the Halal Certification Authority in Lagos, Nigeria. It's good to have you again, Professor. And as mentioned, we're going to be talking about Halal certification. There's so much to talk about this, particularly that Halal certification is a thing that is not too known in this part of the world until recent time. So we'll be talking about all of this from the historical background and then everything around it. And that's what we're going to be doing. So it's going to be over to him now. Particularly, I want him to tell us what exactly, for starters, what exactly do we mean when we say halal? And I want you to focus on this perspective, particularly knowing that we have also non-Muslim on the call.
Okay, thank you very much, Balaji. I want to thank the Global Center for Leadership and Human Development, Capital Development, for inviting me to share our experience and our knowledge with the general public. We are very excited, and we hope that we'll be able to rub minds together and interact on this program. What is halal? Halal simply means permissible. According to the Sharia, that is the Islamic law. That is the simple meaning of halal. And the foundation of halal certification stems from the verse in the Holy Quran, in Quran chapter 2, verse 167, where Almighty Allah Azza wa Jalla states, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuhan nas, kullu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiban, wa la tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan, fa innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. That is, O ye mankind, eat from the earth what is pure and what is permitted, halalan tayyiban, what is permitted and what is pure, and do not follow the footsteps of Shaitan, the evil one, because he is to you an enemy. So this is the foundation of the halal work. And then there are other parts of the Quran that supports the halal in the permissibility of taking what is permissible. So it is based on that the concept of halal comes into being. And we have halal foods, halal beverages, halal finance, halal lifestyle, halal tourism. All of these are part of the things that a Muslim, a conscious Muslim, should engage in, because they are all part of obeying the commands of Almighty Allah by partaking in what is halal. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I did say that Halal certification in this part of the world, Nigeria and indeed West Africa, is relatively novel in that it's not been a thing until most recently. Can you take us through the historical background, particularly for Nigeria and indeed West Africa, when it comes to halal certification?
Halal certification is relatively new in this part of the world. When I say this part of the world, I mean West Africa, and of course, most part of Africa. In South Africa, they have been able to progress to some extent in terms of halal certification. But in most of Africa, particularly West Africa, halal is at its infancy stage. And I will talk more on that later on to talk about the national halal roadmap, for the halal certification in Nigeria, which is just commencing. It started sometime about late last year. So, however, we at the Halal Certification Authority had cause to do a lot of certification based on demand. So there were demand from clients, manufacturers of food and in the food and beverages industry, who needed their products to be certified, and they contacted the Halal Certification Authority. And so therefore, we had been certifying products for the past 5 years. And this has really given us a lot of experience and a lot of advantage in terms of the halal industry in Nigeria. And we've been able to contribute to the development of the national halal standard, which is also one of those things that we'll talk about, and many other things that require our attention. For example, enlightenment, which is very, very key. Many people do not understand what halal is all about. So we've taken that initiative to educate the public through our annual seminars, and we also do some trainings so that as many people as possible will understand what halal is all about. And it's not only for the Muslims, as the Quran states very clearly. It says, "O mankind." So it's for everybody. Everybody stands to benefit from halal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that you talk about as part of what HCA, that is an authority, where you had the chairman. What it does as part of its activities also educates the public, and that is quite very interesting. And that is what is going to bring asking this question: what does it mean for a product to be halal certified? And I think I'm actually asking this question because I know that we're going to have a number of non-Muslims who are going to also be part of this podcast, or when this podcast is shared to the board, and a lot of people will want to also have an idea of what it exactly means for a product to be halal certified.
Okay, thank you very much. If I get your question right, we would like to understand what halal, what a product, what halal, when they say a product is halal certified, what it means,
Halal
right?
certified. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. When a product is said to be halal certified, that means that product has undergone a rigorous process of inspection, of analysis, of quality assurance. In other words, the facility that is bringing out that product is operating in line with global standards in terms of the International Standards Organization, ISO, and even the national standards, that is the National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, and even the Standards Organization of Nigeria. That is the first thing. In fact, before the Halal Certification Authority comes to inspect that facility, we must ensure that that facility already has NAFDAC certification. That's the first thing we ask for. And it must have fulfilled some ISO certifications. So that makes our own work easier. So that is one of our own requirements for halal certification. So when we now get there, we have our own halal standards that we use to verify that the product is halal. And having done that, we also ensure that we take samples for analysis. It is only when we are ensured that the samples are okay in terms of quality, and then secondly, what is permissible is also been taken care of, that it does not contain anything that is haram, that is, doesn't contain anything that is not permissible according to the Sharia. That is when that product can be deemed to be halal certified. And of course, the product will be given, the company will be given a certificate, and the product will also be given a halal label, which is traceable to us, to ensure that that product is indeed a halal certified product. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. You talk about the labels that is going to be imprinted on their product after the product must have undergone this process. But there's this growing mistrust amongst Nigerians and some of these products based on the fact that you see a lot of products out there with halal label, which we have had cases whereby they have been proven beyond maybe reasonable doubt that some of these products didn't actually undergo this halal certification process, but yeah, they go about labeling their products. So in order to enforce this standard quality and to be to assure the consuming public that these products, regardless of the label on it, are actually halal certified. So is anything you are doing in that regard, and how is it that Nigerians can identify beyond the label now products that are truly certified?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mentioned traceability, and that is a very important point when you talk about halal certification. The label must be traceable because, like you said rightly, several products in the market there have halal labels that are not traceable. So you must be able to check the label and look at the certification body that is certifying that particular product. And you can verify, because if the label contains the Halal Certification Authority logo, okay, or the logo of any other qualified and reputable certification body, their name will be there, their logo will be there. And so you can easily check, you can even Google their name to be sure that these people are indeed genuine. And on every product, we have a barcode that you can also check to be sure that this product is indeed traceable back to the company that is issuing it. So that is one important way for you to be sure that the product you are buying is genuine and it is from a reputable source. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Okay, since talking about okay, I have a question. Okay, Dr. Sadiq Omalola, who is on the call, is saying, how can Nigerian consumer identify HCA Halal logo? I think he has just mentioned that, or except you want to make any. So he has just mentioned that. I'm very sure you heard him say that. So it is clearly imprinted on the label, and then there's also a barcode through which you can actually trace if it is genuine or not. Talking about Halal certification, particularly with the fast-growing food chains that we have in Nigeria, how is it that we ensure that I want to know if this certification process is a continuous process, in that if, for instance, we have taken time to certify a particular product, maybe sometime last year or some time ago, how do we ensure that they don't compromise on the standard after the certification process has been undertaken?
Yeah, that is very important, and that is to sustain quality assurance. Yeah,
Yes.
we have our processes and our policies.
All right.
One of the things we have in our terms and conditions for all our clients is that the halal certification is done annually. So if they get a certificate for this year, they get it today, it will last for 1 year. And so they need to renew their certificates after 1 year. Although there are a few companies that we give 2-year certification to. So depending on the company, after 1 year, they must apply for recertification. For those that are given 2 years, at the end of 12 months, we have what we call surveillance.
Okay.
So we must go back there to do surveillance to ensure that what we met on ground the last time is still as it is and nothing has changed. So that is one way we ensure that we sustain the quality of halal products. Secondly, we are proposing an internal mechanism, that is an internal quality assurance system for all our clients. So this is already in process. We have been giving them the enlightenment to the extent that anytime they are due for recertification, that internal mechanism is what we shall depend on. So that internal mechanism will consist of a halal professional who will be working in that industry, and he will be the one to ensure that things are done based on halal. There's what we call the halal critical points. Okay, those halal critical points will be enforced by the halal professional in that organization. So in other words, when we are coming for recertification, we don't even need to come. It's just a matter of, relating with that qualified halal professional in that industry. And once he gives us the assurance, we may not even come. So that is a way to reduce the frequency of certification in the industry. So rather than certifying every year or every 2 years, we can just make it once in 5 years. Once we have the processes in place, once there is a quality assurance, allow quality assurance in place.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. And I must say that this is reassuring that we are hearing from you, because in spite of the fact that we are beginning to see more of this Halal certified label on most of these products, there are some who are still very hedgy, who are very suspicious of the activities of some of these companies who can go to any length. So you did mention that apart from HCA, Halal Certification Authority, you did mention that there are some others too. Apart from HCA, which other Halal certifying organization do you think do we have in Nigeria?
Well, there are a few of our colleagues that we relate with. I know of the Halal Certification to have a Halal Standard Trust. So there are a few of Halal bodies that we meet together and relate together under the banner of the Halal Forum. And this is a means of creating awareness amongst ourselves. We exchange ideas, and also we will serve as a very strong, formidable tool in engaging the government towards embracing halal. And this we are glad that they're already doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's good that you mentioned the government angle to this conversation, and that's why I would like to ask you. We have regulatory agencies like NAFDAC, we have the CPC, that is Consumer Protection Council. Is there a point of intersection in what you at HCA and these other agencies do? Is there any point of intersection?
Yes, for HCA, we've actually been proactive. We've been able to relate with NAFDAC, with the Standards Organization of Nigeria, FIRO, that is the Federal Industrial Research Initiative. So many of these bodies, we've related with them, we've engaged them to enlighten them on halal, and many of them already are also very much appreciative of the fact that we have halal certification bodies who are also assisting them to safeguard the health of the nation, because that is what we are doing. We're ensuring that food or consumables, food and drugs are safe for consumption in the country. So in other words, you're making their work easy for them. Now, in addition to that, the federal government, in the Ministry of, represented by the Federal Ministry of Industry and Trade, they have come up with a roadmap, okay? And of course, they involved all the stakeholders, including the halal certification bodies, HCA and the other halal certification bodies, and even the consumers. So there are representatives from all the stakeholders that have contributed to this halal roadmap. It's a document that was validated just about 2 months ago, specifically April 5th in Abuja, and all stakeholders were there to look at that document, to review it and make it even more robust, so that the operational framework for halal will have been fully developed and we can pursue it along that line. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So thank you again, Prof. Just before we get on with Prof, I want to seize this opportunity to welcome those who are just joining this session. We are live on this particular session with Professor Ibrahim Oreagba, and we have been talking halal certification, particularly in Nigeria. Is it the real deal, or is it just a mere hype? And so we're talking about everything around halal certification. So if you have any question for Prof, of course, you can be allowed to unmute your mic and go ahead, provided you indicate that you would like to hear your question. Then alternatively, you can also put your questions on that chat box, and it will be read to the hearing of our facilitator, and it's going to be taking it on. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to bring it forward. So that is why we are here. So again, thank you, Prof, for your time, and of course, I must say for all that you do. I would like to know, because as much as we know that you are doing so much, we still have quite a number of food chains and many other companies, related companies like that, who are still not halal certified. I recall a couple of weeks ago, I particularly called you. I put a call through to you. I don't know if you recognize that it was from me. I did ask that there is a particular, a very popular food chain I think Chicken Republic or something. My wife came home to me and told me that she understands that Chicken Republic is now Halal certified, and I questioned it, and I expressed my doubts. And I think when I came to you, you did mention to me that maybe it is from any of these other Halal certifying organization and not you. So my question really is, uh, what is it? What does it take to begin this Halal certification process? Particularly, I'm saying this so that organizations who are in this box can begin to be demystified of the process, so that if that is what is holding them back, they can begin to look in that direction. Now, what exactly does it take to start the Halal certification process?
Okay, thank you very much. It's very simple. If you are a producer or a manufacturer and you would like for your products to be halal certified, the first thing you do is to communicate with any of the halal certification body, like HCA, and our website is very functional, very interactive. Our emails are there, so you just send a request to us by email. And if you are not able to send an email and you'd like to visit us physically, the opportunity is also there. Our physical address is also on our website. You can also visit us, but that is after you have downloaded the form from the website. So you fill the form, but before you even fill the form, I need to clarify. Your first thing is to send an intention, a letter of interest on your own company name and well signed by your company MD. So you send that to us, either you bring it physically to us or you send it to us, you scan it to us through email. Now, when you have done this, then we can send you a full package of all the requirements and the step-by-step procedures, okay, towards certifying your product halal. So once we receive your email letter of interest, we are going to send you the terms and conditions for certification. We shall send you the application form, which you will need to fill and sign. And we'll also send you the requirements. I mentioned earlier that we'll require you to have your NAFDAC certification. That is the list of the requirements. You may also be required for certificates from the Standard Organization of Nigeria if you are a multinational or if you are one of the big industries in Nigeria. And of course, the ISO certifications, or the Standard Organizations of Nigeria. So any of those will be additional requirements. So once we have that from you, then we will schedule a date for facility inspection. And then once that has been done, we take samples, we audit your facility. There are a lot of things we'll be sending to you in the form of a checklist, which will be asking a lot of questions. We'll send that to you ahead so that once you have been given the approval for certification, then you can start following those checklists, all the things you need, documentation, and all of those things that you need to put ready for us. We shall now, including the halal critical points, critical control points. So all those things you get ready, and then our auditors will then visit your facility, audit the facility, and collect samples. After the samples have been collected, we'll take it to the laboratory. We have ISO certified labs that we use. And then for some of the samples that may be questionable, that is, we may not be sure and we want to be double sure. For example, a sample contains a porcine or a pork-like something in nature that we wouldn't need to get it verified. We may send it to sophisticated labs, either within the country or even outside the country. We actually have a laboratory in Malaysia that we partner with, and we've sent samples to them on certain areas, certain samples that we're not sure of whether they actually contain, halal ingredients or not, or contain haram ingredients. So we needed to be sure, and we sent to that laboratory. So, and we still do that from time to time. So all of this is to guarantee that when we say a product is halal certified, we are saying it with all confidence that it is halal. So after analysis and we are sure that everything is fine, we do a detailed report and we send it to the company that these are the gaps that we've observed. These are the feedback from the audit, and we'd like you to give us the necessary response to our own observations. Once we get your response, we can then do another report to the Halal Council of Scholars. So they are the ones that will now sit on the report. They will sit on both reports, our own report and the report, the compliance report from the company, and they will take a decision. So once they've taken a decision, if it is positive, they will now communicate officially to the company that, yes, your company has been deemed qualified or eligible for the certificate and the halal label. And will now schedule a date for presentation of the halal certificate to the company.
Oh, all right, that's quite interesting. It's good that we ask these questions, but you never can tell. There are a lot of people are under this illusion that that so much complexity around the processes and the application for it and all of that. That is why we're seizing this opportunity to demystify the people who may find themselves in that particular box. Now, I have a question from Dr. Sadiq, but before I go to that, I still on this particular question. I hope, and I would like you to speak to that anyway. The costs of this for this organization competitive enough, particularly looking at it in the light of some other halal certifying organization that we have. That is one. Is the cost affordable? And then secondly, talk about this other halal certifying organization. I hope there's a point of handshake such that we are assured that there's none of these other organizations that are lowering the bar. It could be that maybe when maybe the charges or the cost is quite high, they want to look at someone else that is not as expensive, and then just to ensure that none of this organization is also lowering the bar in the process altogether. So I would like you to speak to that. Is there any form of handshake between HCA and other organization like that, and then also the costs of running this process?
Okay, thank you very much. Halal certification is an expensive venture. I must let you know that, because all these things that I mentioned concerning certification is not free of charge. They cost money. If you have to do sample analysis, there's a cost to it.
Sure.
If you have to send samples abroad, there's a cost to that too. And even the auditors that go over there to do the audit, these are highly qualified professionals that have gone the extra mile to be trained in the field of halal certification. They are halal auditors, and there's a cost attached to that too. So overall, halal is not cheap. However, we are trying as much as possible to make it affordable. And that is why when we send in our charges, that is the certification fee for our clients, when they respond that this is on the high side, we usually call the meeting to let them know that these are the reasons why it seems to be high. But on the long run, it becomes cost effective because there are benefits attached to halal, which I need to mention to us. By the time we mention the benefits, then, and this also we, educates our clients on these benefits. Now, the first benefit of certifying your product halal is that you are giving millions of Muslims, you are giving them the assurance that they can obey Almighty Allah. They can obey that injunction from Almighty Allah that they are eating what is halal. They are consuming what is halal. You are giving them that assurance. That is one. So to the Muslim, is assured, and he will demand for halal. So if your own product is halal, then potentially millions of Muslims will want to patronize you. Secondly, non-Muslims have come to realize that even there is benefits in halal, to the extent that in South Africa, I was in Cape Town just last week. I just entered an eatery, and I said that, are these products halal? I was just trying to be sure. And he told me that in this particular complex, which is filled with several different restaurants and eateries, that all their products are halal. That whoever does not have a halal certificate will be sanctioned. So coming from that perspective, it shows that there's already a demand for halal, even by the non-Muslims. So it has become the norm in that society, in that environment. So look at the benefits in terms of business, and this we try to educate our clients. Right now, as we speak, the worth of the halal industry is in the tune of 2.3 trillion US dollars. And that is minus Islamic finance. We are just talking about food and beverages, halal services, halal logistics, halal tourism. The worth of halal globally is in the region of 2.3 trillion US dollars. In other words, there is a lot of business when it comes to halal. Non-halal countries, they prepare halal products and export it to halal countries. We have Brazil, we have Venezuela, and some of these big industries, they prepare halal according to halal standards. Malaysia, and then they send it and export it to Islamic countries. In Nigeria, as we speak, many of our clients already are keen into this. Just about 2 or 3 months ago, one of our clients wanted us to certify her products. She was exporting it to Saudi Arabia. Chin-chin, just chin-chin. And you can imagine, because of that demand for the halal certificate, she had to approach us for consultation, and we advised her and went ahead to certify her products. Now she's able to export chin-chin to Saudi Arabia for, and that will give a lot of foreign exchange. So the demand is quite huge. The potential is quite huge. So for those that complain of cost, by the time they appreciate the potential benefits in terms of business, in terms of the demand from the public, they are able to go ahead and certify. So it is a cost effectiveness that we should look at rather than the cost. However, talking about a handshake, that is still ongoing. And that is why we have the Halal Forum. So we talk to ourselves, we share experience. So by and large, we also give preference to the MSMEs, that is the small and medium scale entrepreneurs. We try to encourage them by lowering the cost as much as possible so that they too can partake in halal. Thank you very much.
All right, that is quite interesting. From Dr. Sadiq, his question is, what are the challenges for HCA and Halal certification in Nigeria? Would we like to respond to that, Doctor?
Yeah, basically, one of the challenges we've mentioned already, that is the label. One of the challenges that you have all kinds of labels, fake labels that are not genuine. So because people understand that once they put a halal logo or a halal label on their product, people will naturally want to, buy that product. So a lot of labels that do not really have the traceability are in the markets as we speak. And that has been a challenge. And ways of going through it is to educate the public to really, if you would like to call it, shine your eyes. You have to really be sure that this label, that this product is truly a halal product, and you check. You can check on the website for the name of the company. First thing is that check for the name of the certifying body. So once you see the name of the certifying body, then go online and check. So that will give you a double assurance. So labeling is a problem. And of course, cost is another problem, and that I've explained. Then again, manpower. We have a very big challenge in terms of halal professionals. So we have some of our certifying bodies that have also taken that as one of their strong points. Though we also do training, but they have the halal professional training that they do. That's Hackforce. So these are a few challenges that we have, and by and large, we keep on working together, educating the public, and trying to surmount those challenges. Another challenge is, of course, ignorance. People will say, what is halal? In this part of the world, they'll say, why should I patronize halal? But by the time they realize the importance, then they appreciate it and then demand for it. So the more people demand for halal, then the better will halal be in Nigeria. Imagine a non-Muslim organization, promoting halal. Okay, we've heard of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They had a Halal Expo, International Halal Expo in 2021 in Abuja. We were there. And these people are not, in fact, the driver of that program, the promoter, the chief promoter, is not a Muslim. And he's the chief promoter. His name is Jude. Now, this year, come August 2023, specifically August 29th to August 31st, there's going to be another International Halal Expo in Lagos. And this same person, Mr. Jude, who is not a Muslim, is promoting it. So if non-Muslims are promoting halal, if you Google International Halal Expo now, you will see the banners everywhere. In fact, there are huge banners in strategic locations in Nigeria as we speak. And the promoters are non-Muslim. This shows you the potential of halal, and how it has grown to become a family, a household name, in many parts of the world. So, but because in Nigeria it's still in its infancy, people tend not to appreciate it and tend not to patronize it. But we thank God, the government is also keen into it, and all of these challenges will be surmounted in the not too distant future. Inshallah.
Thank you very much, Prof. And that is good to know. Good to know that there's a whole lot that is happening out there to further promote and support the cause. And then I think something that the Muslims and even non-Muslims alike can begin to show excitement about. So thank you very much. Remember, talking about the audience now, we still have another 15 minutes or thereabouts before we cut time on the session. So if you have your questions, you can put it in the chat box. And then if you also like to be allowed to speak to your questions, and because you only need to indicate, and then we'll get to that. Prof, so much has been said about some of your activities and what you do. But I would like you to tell us if HCA is doing enough in terms of promoting your activities. I don't know how much of effort has gone into publicity through the media, the mainstream media, and the new medias as well, because a whole lot of what you are doing, if it is not promoted out there, a lot of people will still be very much in the dark. So I want you to tell the house what you are doing in terms of promoting your activities, particularly in the media.
Thank you very much. Yes, promotion is very key, and we take that very seriously. So we have a very functional website, like I mentioned earlier, such that if you Google halal, just write halal, it will take you to our website. Okay, to show you our website as one of those results. and you can easily visit and see what is happening. Then, as much as possible, we have an international seminar annually to educate people on halal, the benefits of halal, the potentials, and the do's and don'ts. Then again, we have media engagements from time to time. We do propagate halal through the electronic media and of course the social media. A lot of our trainings, meetings, we do have online so as to promote halal in Nigeria. So these are a few things that we do. And sometimes we also take these enlightenments to different parts of the country. Of course, in conjunction with some of our halal sister bodies. We do public health awareness in different locations, sometimes in mosques, so that people will get to appreciate. However, there is still a lot to do in that regard, such that our aim is to ensure that everybody, every nook and cranny, get to hear about halal and get to understand the benefits of halal. And truly, when you look at the benefits of halal, one thing, some usually thinks that halal it benefits only the Muslims, and it's far from the truth. It benefits everybody. Food safety is for everybody. When you say food safety, you are talking about everybody. The sukuk that was instituted a few years back benefits everybody. The roads that are constructed. Sukuk is a halal product. Islamic finance, many of the Islamic financial organizations benefit non-Muslims. In fact, more non-Muslims than the Muslims. So this needs to be promoted and given the necessary publicity as much as possible so that people can embrace and benefit from halal lifestyle. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Prof. I know you have talked about it at the very beginning of this conversation, but I guess this is one of those, this question is coming from one of those who came in much later, so I'd still like you to take it on. It is coming from Olatunji. He's saying that to curtail the dangers posed by fake halal labels, is it possible to have the label of statutory authority along that of certifying body?
Okay, thank you, Olatunji, for your question. Yes, I did mention it earlier. You see, in Nigeria, halal is at its infancy, okay? And like I mentioned earlier, there's a roadmap for halal certification in Nigeria. Part of what that roadmap talks about is regulation. How do we regulate halal, okay, in Nigeria? So we shall get to the point whereby the chief regulator will ensure that the certifying bodies are in line. Then it will also curtail the fake labeling that we see all about. Whoever is manufacturing a product and issuing a fake halal label will be sanctioned in not too distant future. So all of this, we believe, have been captured in the halal operational framework. And with time, the regulatory bodies will swing into action to ensure that we don't see this ugly side of it, because it's not only even with halal, even NAFDAC label. Sometimes people manufacture products with fake NAFDAC number. So it is something that is prevalent in the society, but once the halal operational framework comes on board fully, all this will be minimized to the barest, inshallah. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Prof. Okay, so there's another question for you here from Saida Kekere, and she's saying that in some countries there's so much confidence in halal certified products, hence even non-Muslims will rather go for halal certified product any day, anytime. I think she's just laying credence to what you had mentioned, particularly your experience you shared in your visit to South Africa recently. So it's actually not a question. She has confirmed that. So she's thoroughly impedance tolerant. And it's good to know because we have Muslims in different parts of the world. In fact, in societies that are largely non-Muslims. And these are some of those challenges faced by Muslims in those particular societies. I know that maybe South Africa have a sizable community, Muslim community right there. But of course, you look at certain part of the world. I don't know, places like China and some other part of the world like that are predominantly non-Muslim societies, and where we have, Nigerian Muslims and Muslims across the world. There, is there any sort of efforts to, take Halal certification to some of these societies? We are lucky enough that, going by your experience in South Africa, but we may not be as fortunate like that in some parts of the world. Is there any effort in that regard? Hello, Prof. Okay, Prof is muted. Prof is muted. Please, those at the back end, please allow Prof to be able to unmute his
Thank
mic.
you. Thank you. I've
All
been
right.
able to unmute myself. Thank you very much. Yes, with regards to your question, that's a very important question. The interests of the minorities, okay? If you are in a country like China, in the US, in the UK, mind you, the UK has a very strong halal body. In fact, there are two of them, very strong halal certifying bodies. And in fact, we plan to meet one of them sometime in July to collaborate. So, but for other countries that may not have, the efforts we are making, first of all, let me talk about the efforts the minorities are making, and even the non-Muslims in those countries are making. Last year, we got an invitation from Taiwan. They wanted us to speak on the benefits of halal, globally. It was a webinar, and we were invited, and we were able to give, such benefits to the wide public. So Taiwan, which is a non-Muslim country, but because they appreciate the benefits of halal, and they're also interested in taking care of their minority groups. Okay, they don't joke with the interests of their minority groups because they know that the Muslims in that society will likely demand for halal. And they're also aware of the global worth, the financial worth of halal. So they know that if they promote halal in their country, they are only promoting their economy indirectly. So we were invited to that webinar, and we were able to give a good breakdown. So what am I saying? In those countries that have minority Muslims, the interests of the Muslims are also taken care of. Okay, once you mention halal, they don't see it from any other point than from the benefits, the economic benefits and the health benefits. So once you appreciate the economic benefits of halal and the health benefits of halal, you are going to promote it to the benefits of the minorities and for your own citizens as a whole. So if you go to various countries, halal is well recognized internationally. In fact, the airlines ensure, most of the airlines, if not all, we've certified about 2 or 3 airlines, and they come for certification because they keep on getting demands. Their clients, the travelers, usually request, this product, is it halal certified? Some of them have been using international halal certification bodies. But because they are residents in Nigeria, based in Nigeria, they operate in Nigeria. So they look for halal certifying bodies that are based in Nigeria. And that is how they get to approach us. And when they find out that we're able to deliver, then they do away with the international halal certifying bodies and they come back to us. So since the airlines, they demand for halal, everybody is demanding for halal, Then all of these other countries that have minority Muslims, they also demand for halal. And that is how halal become a global recognized, exercise. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Prof. It is almost an hour that we have spent with you talking about Halal certification, and it's very, very interesting, eye-opening, I must say. And I'm excited by the prospects that Halal certification have in Nigeria, and I'm also particularly happy that there are efforts also going on to also, establish the presence of Halal certification in Muslim minority countries and societies. So it's good to know. Thank you very much. So much has been said. However, I know that maybe there's some other things that you may want to also, mention, maybe that has not pop up as a question or what have you, that you would like to speak to, especially maybe from the point of view of the audience and the general public as regard what we can also do to support the cause of HCA and Halal certification in Nigeria as a whole. And every bit of the information that you think you can pass across in just about 2 or 3 minutes before we call time.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. To my dear colleagues and to the general public, I want to assure you that halal is being promoted by HCA, and one of the things that we need to let people understand is that halal is not only about food and drugs or what you consume alone. It's about your whole lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. So apart from the food and beverage industry, we have the halal finance. We have the halal tourism, where you can have hotels that are certifying their hotels halal. We have halal health facilities, where you have hospitals that have halal products. We call them Ibadah-friendly hospitals. A hospital that will enable you to perform your salat. An hospital that will give you all the necessary things that are halal. Okay? Halal fashion. We even have halal fashion, modest fashion. So that the way you dress as a male or as a female, you dress in a halal fashion. So all of this makes halal a trendy exercise. And we want you, the public, to continue to demand for halal. The more you demand for halal, the more you demand for halal services, the more people will subscribe to halal certification, and the easier our work will become. And this is what has been happening in many developed countries. The Muslims demand for halal. And once they demand for halal, the manufacturers, the producers, they have no option but to produce what is halal. And the government eventually, as it's happening now, they are also embracing halal. It doesn't come easy, but with continuous demand, with continuous effort, we definitely get there to the benefit of the general public. Thank you very much.
Okay, I want to say a very big thank you again to Professor Ibrahim Adekunle Oreagba, who has been with us on this session discussing Halal certification, the real deal or a mere hype, and it's been very, very interesting, I must say. Thank you very much, and of course, I'm getting feedback from some of the participants from Saida Kekere Salman. She's saying a very big thank you to you, and we all appreciate you, and we appreciate all that you do. I did mention, especially for those who join us much later, that we also had Professor Reagba on that last session that we had with Dr. Lukman Rahimi. He was the one who came on much later on that session to also make some contribution on the submission of the facilitator for that day, Dr. Lukman Rahimi. So he is a friend of the house. I'm saying this because there will be time in the near future that we'll have him on the call again. So I'm very sure you will not hesitate to head into our call, especially for the benefit of our listening public. It is very, very important that we have resource people like you educating the public, particularly when it comes to issues such as the one that we put on the front burner today. Thank you very much, Professor Oreb. I really, really do appreciate you. And I must say for our participants, if you want to continue to engage Professor Oreagba on related topic that we had today, of course, you can always reach out to us via our different social media handle that we're going to be sharing with you in due time. We can continue to have this conversation with Professor Oreagba through our channels at GCL HTL. I want to say to everybody who have been part of this particular session, a very big thank you for making out time to be with us. And then for Nigerians who are in Nigeria particularly, we say a very happy democracy holiday to you all. And at GCL HTL, this is just a tip of the iceberg. We were with you a couple of months ago when we had Dr. Lakman Rahimi speak about medical entrepreneurship. And ahead of that, we also had the newly appointed chair of the NDIC. I'm talking about Dr. Abdulakim Abdulatif, who was on the session to speak about good governance and so on. At a point, we also had the CFO of MTN Nigeria. That I'm talking about, Mr. Mudupe Kadiri, has been also on this session a few months ago. So this is also to let you know how much of very, very resourceful people that we bring on this session. So please look out for the next podcast session that is going to be shared on our different social media channel for your listening pleasure. So from me, Bolaji Olabiju, I want to say a very big thank you again on behalf of the organizer for all of those who have joined us and who have made contribution on this particular call. And on this point, on this note, I would like to say a big thank you to you all as we call time. And I say until when next we meet you again, it is bye for now.